It's really good to be here with you all. Good morning. If you are like Faria, then it is 6 a.m. in Australia. Faria, thank you so much for coming and delivering this class. We've so been looking forward to it. I know I have. And if you're like me in Portugal, it is still Sunday, not yet Monday. And it's the evening. So wherever you are in your day, just give yourself a moment to arrive. If you're on the beach, or if you're driving, or if you're cooking a meal, or if you've managed to carve out just the space that you need to focus on this, whether you're here live or you're watching the replay. We had a ton of people sign up for this masterclass, so I imagine many of you are going to be watching the replay. If you can, give yourself some space to consume this, to digest this. This is really the essence of everything that Faria is going to be sharing with us today. If we haven't met, my name is Victoria, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you. I was born and raised in Eastern Canada, and I'm now based in Portugal. I have really devoted myself to supporting men and women and couples from the time of preconception all through the childbearing continuum. So supporting couples or singles from the time of preconception to welcome the fullness of their children into the world. And so I've studied in pre and perinatal psychology and health, sacred birthing, ancient traditional Amazonian medicine, myofascial release and massage therapy, and prenatal memory. And one of the things that is my strongest motivating forces in my work that is umbrellaed under Luminous Birth is that I have many of my own birth and pre-birth memories intact. So it's sort of this unforgotten knowing that informs the work I do, protecting the consciousness of our incoming generations. My baby, which was born last year, was Luminescence Fertility and Preconception Program. And Faria is one of the esteemed contributors and teachers inside of that program. And this program is it really exists to help women and men to prepare their bodies, their minds, their spirits, their relationship, their whole life to have children and to set a very strong foundation for their family to thrive. It's for people if they're struggling to conceive, and it's also for people if they're in the best health of their life. If you just look outside of our culture for 1 second, you will see that it is a known, recognized default to honor the preconception period, not just as the months before, but as the years before conceiving. So I am honored to introduce Faria, and I really wholeheartedly believe that it is critical to learn from teachers who embody their teachings. In my view, a practitioner is one whose practice overflows in a way that benefits others. And Faria is an exemplary of that. And I can tell you firsthand, because I had the pleasure of living with Faria. And I can tell you that she lives every word that she speaks and all that she shares with people, so many people, is a real authentic overflow of how she lives her life. Faria, I'm so honored to have you here today. And I know that you're going to share even more about yourself with everyone and what you expect from all of us throughout this masterclass so that we can make your delivery as smooth and easeful as possible. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, dearest Victoria, for that wonderful introduction. And yeah, I just wanted to say as well that I'm so deeply honored to be sharing this space with you all, and also that Victoria invited me to collaborate with her on this program. In my opinion, it's honestly one of the most comprehensive preconception programs out there, along with so many esteemed experts, as Victoria mentioned, who really have lived experience through all of the facets of birth and life. So the key message that I wanted to share today is one of trust. So trusting ourselves and trusting nature's intelligence. So our bodies are designed for this process. And this comes back to really like the main reason of why we are here, right? As our core, as human beings, we're here for two fundamental processes, and sometimes I think we can forget this. So the first one is actually to live and survive. This is our most basic instinct. And the second one is to procreate and to create life, whether you choose to be on this journey or not. So, no matter where you are on this journey, if you're curious, if you've had your eggs frozen going through IVF, you're a same-sex couple, a single mother, a birth keeper, you're already a parent, this space is for you. And with that, this is really an invitation to also become aware of yourself. This is essentially what Ayurveda is. It's creating awareness, living in alignment with nature, understanding your body and mind. And when we equip ourselves with these tools, this is when our intuition becomes unshakable and we become our own best healers and we start to learn and trust ourselves fully. So, no matter where you are on your journey as well, the most important thing is to really set that intention, be really clear about where you want to go and what it is that you're seeking. So with this intention, then you then have the right steps to prepare your body and mind. At the same time, it's really important that we also let go of our attachments of what the outcome can look like. Because when we're living in our purpose, we create the right conditions for what it is that we want to achieve. And then we can release this control of how it unfolds. And we cannot help then but be aligned is for what is meant for us. So with that, we're going to dive straight into the presentation. So if you give me 1 second, I will share my screen. Oh, I think, Victoria, you need to allow me to. Thank you. Great. All right, so everyone can see my screen now. Wonderful. So really, really excited to be sharing this masterclass with you on the Ayurvedic fertility blueprint. So you're going to be walking away with 3 really tangible steps to optimize your health for new life. So to make the most out of this session, I know we've touched upon this at the beginning, but just a reminder again, really to be present. So if you can, just put away your phones, give yourself the gift of focus and take notes. So you can write things down, which also makes it easier to absorb the information. We're going to be going through quite a bit here, particularly if you're new to Ayurveda. And just a kind request to please keep your questions at the end and if you can, stay engaged in the process too. So we'll just start with taking some deep breaths so we can arrive here together and really give ourselves the space so we can absorb this information. So I'll invite you wherever you are. I know some of you are out as well, but if you can just take a moment to just pause and come into stillness, can slowly, gently start to close down your eyes and arrive into your body. Can simply let go of what's happened during your day, what is yet to come for this evening as you start to wind down, or if it's the start of your day. Just giving yourself permission to be here. And just start to connect with the natural rhythm of your breath. Just observing the shape of the breath, the length of the breath. Good. And now just start to slowly deepen that breath as we start to even out the inhale and exhale. So just relaxing the body, relax your jaw, breathing in and out through the nose. Some nice, deep, even breaths. Let that energy, that prana, the life force, flood inside your entire body, your mind. Imagine yourself, you're like a sponge, open to receiving this information. And take one last deep breath in. Exhale, breath out. And slowly come back and open your eyes. I always like to start with a little grounding practice before we get into things. So welcome everybody. This is what we're going to be covering on the masterclass today. So I'll give a little bit brief introduction about myself and my experience. And then we're going to go into Ayurveda. So an introduction to Ayurveda, particularly digestion, why it's considered the foundation of health, and looking at the tissues and why this is a really kind of key component when it comes to understanding our health and particularly fertility. Then we'll go into the Ayurvedic perspective on fertility and also looking at infertility and the main causes of that. And then the 3 steps really to enhance your fertility. And like I said as well, this is really 3 steps you can start to implement at any stage of your life, because it's really essentially going to just be enhancing your life. And like I mentioned at the beginning, please save your questions for the end. We're going to have time to really go through them and unpack them. So a bit about me. My name is Faria. I grew up in Melbourne in Australia, hence the accent, but I've been living in Europe for the last 15 years. I am really proud to come from a South Indian background, and I come from a lineage of actually allopathic doctors. So starting from my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and I chose to go down more the kind of natural route of healing with Ayurveda. So I've been practicing and teaching quite extensively over 2 decades. So my professional background was in corporate marketing, which I did for 15 years, but yoga and Ayurveda has always been a part of my life. So I have spent over 2 decades practicing and teaching yoga, and really the last decade really getting into Ayurveda, both studying and now teaching, with over 1,200 hours of both clinical training in Ayurveda. So I've spent a lot of time in my country, the home of my heart in India, studying with the Vaidyas, the Ayurvedic doctors themselves. So this is a wisdom that I'm so honored to be able to share with you, and it's also a deep, deep part of my tradition, my culture, and part of who I am. I am one of those people who I would say I've had lived experience, really lived experience. I've learned how to naturally manage a chronic illness, which I've had for over two decades now. So whilst in Ayurveda, we never say that we can cure something, we always look at firstly prevention and then ways that we can help alleviate the symptoms to live our best lives. I've also gone through a life-threatening illness and suffered from gut issues for quite a few years. So yeah, these are all things that I have learned to be able to manage myself, not only with Ayurveda, but through the practices that I've learned with yoga, with breath work and meditation. And having come from as well I guess the more modern medical perspective, I really understand what it's like to go through that too, and to have both the benefits and the challenges that we're faced when it comes to dealing with illness and working with traditional and modern medicine. So over the last few years, I've helped more than hundreds of people with gut and hormonal imbalances, and couples as well, going through all kind of stages of the birthing journey. And I'm very, very fortunate to be able to host international treats, a guest speaker at many wellness events, and like this program, also very, very fortunate to be a facilitator on many programs as well. And for those of you who aren't following me, you can see here my Instagram and my email as well. So Ayurveda, oh, I don't know why this image isn't loading. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Ayurveda, and this is something that I could spend lifetimes really unpacking, but to give a very kind of brief overview of what it is. So Ayurveda is known as the science of life, and in my opinion, it is the most comprehensive and holistic system of health that is there. It is 5,000 years old. It is originated from India. And what makes Ayurveda so unique as a modality of health and medicine, it incorporates the body, mind, and spirit. So unlike any other medical system that's there, it really, really looks at the individual and understands health from a holistic perspective. So Ayurveda all looks at an individual approach to health. So you might have heard when we're talking about Ayurveda, things that are called our doshas, which are known as our unique body-mind constitution, which is really unique and special to each one of us. And the interesting thing with this, so our unique constitution is something that is actually determined at the time of conception. So very fitting for this journey that we're on, we're going to understand more about all of the things that influence us and really dictate the whole quality of our lives that is determined right from the time that we are conceived. So Ayurveda also takes the approach that if we are born healthy, it is not only our right, but it's also our duty to make sure that we are living in our best health, that we prioritize ourselves to live a long and healthy and purposeful life. So the two main objectives of Ayurveda is to maintain a healthy body, mind, and spirit, and also to prevent ourselves from illness. So even if you're someone who doesn't really suffer from any kind of illnesses or imbalances, it's really about how to optimize your health in all of these facets. And why more and more people are turning to Ayurveda, particularly these days, is that it looks at treating illness from the root cause. And this is by no means to kind of diss modern medicine. There are so many ways that it helps us nowadays and saves our lives, but particularly with chronic conditions, with ongoing issues, fertility issues as well, we always look at treating illness from the root cause. So we understand the individual. We ask them questions. So, you know, if you're experiencing, for example, issues with fertility and you've gone to see your gynecologist and, you know, you'll get a pelvic floor ultrasound and they're looking at these things. In Ayurveda, we go much beyond that. You know, we look at your diet, we look at the things that are influencing your lifestyle. What are the activities that you do, the people who you surround yourself with. So everything in its essence is to do with the energetics as well. And we always look at treating from the root cause, not only to help relieve the symptoms of whatever ailment or imbalance that you're working with, but also to make sure that it doesn't occur again. So this is where the prevention comes in. Ayurveda and digestion. So the fundamental aspect to healing from the Ayurvedic lens, the foundation of health all starts with our digestion. And now this is something that we know is supported with modern science. So the connection between the gut-brain axis, you know, our gut often referred to as the second brain, the microbiome, and why it's so important not only for all of all aspects of our health, for our mind, for our body, for our longevity, but particularly as we are embarking on this journey to do with fertility all the way to birth and parenthood, the microbiome says plays such a pivotal role in determining not only our health, but the health of our children and our future generation. So we understand digestion much more than the traditional sense, our digestive system, like our stomach and our esophagus and all of these things, a colon. We refer to it as Agni. So Agni is the digestive fire. So it governs both the physical and metabolic processes, and essentially it's energetic transformation. So our digestion is in its essence an energy that we have. And when we are looking at digestion from the Ayurvedic perspective as well, and again, this is something that we know is very much supported with modern science. So every experience, a thought, a sensory output, so everything that we're exposed to day, these are all things that impact our gut. And from the Ayurvedic perspective, we understand that more than 80% of disease, imbalances are psychosomatic in nature, meaning they stem from imbalances in the mind, which these are due to, again, a multitude of factors. But this is really, really important when understanding the key things that impact our digestion. So I'm going to take you through hopefully a simple a simple model of digestion from the Ayurvedic lens to try and simplify it for you. So when we're looking at digestion, we actually digest so much more than our food in our day-to-day life. So this is everything from the devices through our emotions, the seasons, the environment, the people who we surround ourselves with, the light that we're exposed to, the activities that we do, our sleep. So all of these things that we are ingesting through our sensory outputs every day has to go through this process of transformation through our Agni, through our digestive fire. So this thing that resides within us both physically and energetically. So when we are digesting all of these things, it goes through this transformation with our Agni and our digestion. And we know this from a very simple point of view when we look at, okay, why do we need to digest food? Well, simply because we need to get the nutrition, right? It needs to fuel ourselves. It needs to fuel our bodies, our whole metabolic processes. And another important part of this in Ayurveda is that it's meant to produce waste. So waste and the health of our waste is something very important that also determines the health of our Agni. So waste, looking at our stools and urine, our sweat. So these are all things that we look at when we are looking at the health of a person and doing a consultation. So when we consider this kind of entire process, now there are many things that can disrupt this process. So let's firstly go through when this process works well. So let's say you get up early, you have a really good meal, you feel very productive, you go to bed early, and so we're digesting these things, we're inputting these things, it goes through our Agni and it transforms, we're going through the transformation, and we are clearly getting the nutrition that we need from that, and also healthily producing our waste. Anything that disrupts this process, so let's say you have a bad night, an argument with your partner, you're eating a takeout meal or whatever. So the same thing, our Agni has to transform this into nutrition and waste. But when this process is disrupted, it's what converts into Amma, which is what is known as toxins. And then when we have consistently this accumulation of Amma, this is what causes imbalance. This is what causes disease. So this is why it is so important to understand how digestion impacts our overall health. When we are considering, particularly looking at fertility and our reproductive health, it's important to understand how we are actually receiving this nutrition. So very important, we digest all of our things. Our Agni then transforms that and it gives the nutrition to our body through the tissues. And this is the next thing I wanted to explain. Again, these are very, very in-depth processes and things to understand in Ayurveda, but I wanted to take through you because it's really important to understand. So the key thing I wanted to take away from this is in Ayurveda, we look at the entire body, so physiologically, energetically, in terms of the tissues. So in modern medicine, we view this more as the organs and all of the systems that come into play, like our reproductive system, circulatory system, all of that. But in Ayurveda, it's very simple. We break it down into the tissues, which encompass all of the organs and all of the channels as well. So they go from left to right. So there's 7 tissues. So when we're receiving that nutrition from the things that we are digesting, they have to go through 7 layers of these tissues, which are each nourished sequentially. So the first is the plasma, then there's the blood, the muscle, fat, bone, the bone marrow and nerve tissue. And the last thing to be nourished is what is called a shukra dhatu. Dhatu means tissue. Shukra refers to our reproductive system and our reproductive fluids. And then a byproduct of this is what is called our ojas, our vital essence, our vitality and immunity. So this is why, particularly when we are on any journey with life, with creating new life as well, digestion becomes so important because it has to go through this process of nourishing all of our tissues to get to that last tissue, our most potent tissue called the shukra dhatu. And this is the foundation, not only for creating new life, it's the foundation of our own lives. It dictates our vitality and longevity. So if there are 2 things to take out from these two diagrams, is firstly understanding that we digest life through all of our senses, and there are many things that influence that. And secondly, once we go through this process, the nutrition then has to travel down all of the 7 tissues, which get nourished sequentially, and the last one being the shukra dhatu, our reproductive tissues and our organs. And we're going to look at ways now of how we can boost the vitality and health of our shukra dhatu, our reproductive system, and the vital essence of that, which is called Ojas. This is also the name of my business. So how does this apply to our fertility? So the Ayurvedic approach to fertility. So Ayurveda basically just views fertility as a reflection of our overall being. So in a lot of the Western approaches, we like to compartmentalize things. Okay, we have a gut issue. Okay, we have a fertility issue. Okay, we have a menstrual issue. No, it's a reflection of our overall well-being. It considers the body, mind, and spirit rather than just the reproductive organs. So this is very, very important to understand when we're looking on embarking on this journey. And this is something that when Victoria and I first got together, we were talking about this whole journey, right? This whole journey of our lives, of creating new life, from all the way from fertility to parenthood. We see this not just from an Ayurvedic lens, but an invitation to you all as well, is to view these as transitions. They're not separate. So in any stage of life, the best thing that we can do to live with that sense of purpose and vitality and really thrive and optimize our health is to live with awareness and harmony. So particularly with women, you know, when we're on this journey, it's always like we're going to the next thing. It's like, okay, fertility, cannot get pregnant, and that's the thing that we're worried about. And then we do get pregnant, and it was like the next thing we're worrying about is birth. And then when the babies come, so it's really also an invitation to really be present, and no matter what your journey looks like as well, this is how we can really cultivate that sense of awareness and purpose, is through the presence and knowing the things that we need as well for each one of these stages as we transition through these journeys in life. So with Ayurveda, there are 4 pillars of conception, and this is something that I go to in more detail in the Luminescence program, which actually we start off in the first module because it really is the foundation of our health. We look at optimizing the 4 pillars of conception, and you can really liken this to analogy of planting a seed. So the first thing that we take into consideration is the timing. And Ayurveda as well is a science of nature. It's a science of life, and we are nature. We are creatures of nature. So how can we best align to the rhythms of nature? So the best time of the season to conceive, considering the stage of life that we're at, both us and our partner. Are we in a stage where we feel stable? Are we financially secure? Are we feeling well on a mental and spiritual level? This is very, very important to consider. Our menstrual cycle. So obviously the right time to conceive, but also considering how is our menstrual cycle? Our menstrual cycle is one of the key indicators of health in a woman. And of course, when it comes to that beautiful lovemaking time, intercourse, and when is the optimal time to do this, and the conditions that we need for this magical union. The second is the kshetra, the field. So we think of this as the soil. So what are the things we need to prepare a really healthy, well-nourished body and also our sexual organs? So with Ayurveda, we view this time to bring in life as such a sacred time, and it's really an opportunity for us to step into the best version of ourselves. So before this, we always encourage people to do a cleanse because, like I said, remember the model of digestion, there are so many things that can affect us, and at any point in time we will have an accumulation of toxins, of ama. So it's very important to cleanse the field before we begin as well. The third thing is the ambu, the nourishment. So these are all of the healthy fluids. So imagine the soil, so all the things that we're putting in that soil, like watering it and giving it sunlight. So this is supporting fertility through the balanced diet, through hydration, through lifestyle practices as well, particularly things like breath work, yoga, meditation. And the last thing is the bija, the seed. So both enhancing ways that we can enhance the quality of the sperm and the ovum. Keep in mind here that this is all from the Ayurvedic perspective, a science that is more than 5,000 years old. So even back then, they had the knowledge of what is happening on almost like, this microscopic level, understanding that we have the sperm and the seed. So it really is a time-tested ancient wisdom that we receive from the divine. So how to enhance the quality of our seed, again, through lifestyle diet. And there are certain herbs that can support both sperm quality and egg quality, because remember, there are 2 parts of the equation here. One often gets overlooked more than the other. So this is, again, something that we will dive into more detail when we are going through the pillars of conception in module 1 of the Luminescence program. So infertility. This is something that I also work with clients, and we're seeing nowadays an alarmingly increasing rate of individuals, of couples who are experiencing infertility. So what does it mean, this label in its essence? So it's our inability to naturally conceive after 12 months of regular unprotected sex. So from the Ayurvedic view, we look at fertility issues and all of the things that can affect our fertility. So the first thing is in the environment and environmental toxins. So now these days we're exposed to quite an array of toxins. A lot of the time we're not even aware. So even the things from our cleaning products through the rays that we're exposed to with, like the Wi-Fi, all of this stuff that we are exposed to every day. A big one, and now it's also getting more awareness, and I know Victoria shares this a lot as well in the platform with some leading experts on sperm and the quality of the sperm, the low sperm quality count. And for any of you who are males who are watching, who are partners who are watching, one thing I can say is please take away your phones from your pockets. This is one thing that we also overlook, but can really have an effect on the sperm quality. Scarring in the reproductive organs. So, for example, from surgeries like to remove endometriosis or fibroids, Hormonal irregularities. This is one that I am very passionate about, having gone through it myself. I'm working very closely with clients who have things like polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids, endometriosis, thyroid irregularities. So these are all things that we need to address first before going on that journey as well. And there are ways that we can do this where we can be naturally supported without having to take all of these hormones and drugs that often interfere with this process too. Diet, a big one. Again, something that we will unpack more in the program, because with Ayurveda, we do look at the individual. So what is the diet that is going to best support you? But there is an umbrella of foods and nutrition that we consider really, really beneficial to support in the fertility journey. Same goes with lifestyle, things that are really going to help to reduce our stress and also create the foundation for the health that we need to bring in new life. One that we often don't consider too much, this goes for both men and women, is having too low body fat and also too high. So being in the ideal optimum weight for you and for your constitution as well, to really create that healthy seed, the healthy bija. A big one, and one that I'm very passionate about as well, is stress. So ways that we can actively manage stress, not just de-stressing, but be able to manage stress, because stress in small amounts is good for us as well. Stress and mindset, like I mentioned at the beginning, it all starts with our intention, right? And the last one, which is a bit of a no-brainer, but I do have to mention it because this is what gets converted straight into toxins, and this is something that will completely kind of hinder any process to do with your health. So smoking, drugs, and alcohol use. So how can we actively improve our fertility through an Ayurvedic approach? And with Ayurveda, I don't want to kind of pigeonhole it into one thing. It is essentially working with your cells, with the cycles of nature to thrive, to optimize your health. That's all we're doing from the Ayurvedic lens. So we really want to give ourselves the best chance by creating the ideal conditions for ourselves and to bring in new life, which is one of the most magical, powerful, and beautiful experiences that we can experience in this lifetime. So planning for new life, it is best to allow at least 3 to 12 months. Ideally in Ayurveda, we give ourselves 12 months to prepare before even conceiving, right? So as we touched upon the 4 pillars of conception, all of the things that we need to nourish the seed, everything from the soil to the conditions to all of those things, it takes time as well. So just to understand this in terms from like actual biologically what is going on, to help you understand. So with the sperm formation, to create new sperm actually takes about 90 days. And the egg, so although we are born already with a complete reservoir of eggs, it takes about 90 to 120 days for the egg to fully mature before ovulation. So we still have time to improve the quality of the bija, that both the sperm and the egg. But we also want to give ourselves time really mentally to prepare, and also for our body. So the things that are really going to help improve our digestion. So the process ideally that we want to go through is to prepare. So this, by offering this class as well, it is just an invitation. It is just arming you with more information, which is what I hope you can take from this, is just to equip yourself with that knowledge. So to prepare. And then we do need to go through this process of cleansing and detoxification. So remembering again, at any point in time, we are going to have this accumulation of ama. So even if you are deciding to actively conceive or not, it is a really good thing to do for our bodies. And then rejuvenation. So once we're building the strength of our Agni, of our digestive fire, what are the things that are going to really enhance the quality of the field, of the kestra, of the fluids, and of the seed of the bija. So there are certain things that are really going to help support our ojas, our vital essence. And then last but not least, certainly not least, is the act of union, is this beautiful and sacred act of coming together, and the things that we need to consider of how we can make this a really beautiful experience for ourselves, with our partners, and for the life to come. So a minimum of 3 months is recommended for this process. This is something, again, I will go through in more details in the module of the program. So all of these things is not only leading to improved fertility, we're just enhancing the quality of our lives and making ourselves most prepared for this journey. So what are the 3 things that you can start doing now? So this is where you can, take your notes, and thanks for bearing with me so far. I know that's been a lot of information to receive, but these are just 3 really kind of simple, tangible things. Again, if you're actively on that fertility journey, if you're looking just to improve your health, or you're supporting people through that journey, this is really, really important for everyone. These 3 steps are only just going to improve the quality of your life. So the first is how we can balance this digestion, our Agni, our digestive fire. So the Agni can be likened to a fire, and there's certain things that support the fire. So it's in this beautiful equilibrium. So by having regular meal times and eating certain foods, that will help to increase that nutrient absorption, because remember, the nutrients have to move through the 7 layers of our tissues to finally reach the Shukra Dhatu, our reproductive tissues, and create the vital essence, our Ojas. So whilst nutrition, that's another topic we can go on for quite a while, I want to understand the quality of the type of foods that we need to have that's going to fuel our Agni. So these are warm, these are cooked, they're moist, and they're freshly made food. So whilst I know it's not necessarily practical for everyone to be cooking every day, again, it's just an invitation for you to maybe try and cook one home cooked meal a day. I always like to try and cook lunch, and then I have that for dinner too. And for the morning, you can create something quite simple like oats or stewed apple that really doesn't take a long time. So food is our greatest source of prana, of life force. So the more we're keeping it fresh, we're keeping that integrity of the energy that we want to fuel ourselves with. And so Ayurveda, the Agni, works in alignment with the cycles of nature. So our digestion is best fired up during the day, during lunchtime. So this is why we always encourage you to have the biggest meal of the day around lunchtime. This also really, really helps to improve your energy levels and the quality of your sleep. Secondly, it's important to look at the things we need to avoid. And this is something that I'm very adamant about. And there are really kind of no loopholes around, again, just for improving the quality of your health. So I would strongly recommend to completely avoid alcohol. And now research has shown that the disadvantages of having alcohol far outweigh these so-called benefits that we're known to have, like even if it's just a glass of red wine. Because if we remember that process of digestion, alcohol, and again with smoking and drugs and some of these other things like processed foods, refined sugar, they convert straight into a toxin in the body. And if we're working again with that intention, you think about the kind of life that you want to create, not just for yourself, but for this life that you want to invite into the world. You want to give it that best chance of having the most beautiful, beautiful life for yourself and for your family. Please avoid alcohol. Smoking, drugs, don't need to explain why you need to do that. Another surprising one here is caffeine. So particularly if you're quite a coffee addict, I would suggest at least slowly, gradually limiting the caffeine, because caffeine really spikes our cortisol, and it also causes a lot of imbalance with the gut, increases the heat of the gut as well. So during this time, we want to avoid too many of these stimulants as well. So caffeine, and I guess we all know the rest, the usual suspects in there, why we want to avoid them. The secondly is that we're looking to build our ojas. So this is the subtle essence of the shukra dhatu, our last tissue, the reproductive organs and our fluids. This ojas is known as our primal vigor. It gives us our essence, our vitality, and our zest for life. This is something that is going to that dictates really the quality of our life through all of our phases. So if we're really focused on longevity as well, we are looking to build our ojas. So there are some foods that particularly support our reproductive health, and these are dates, saffron, peeled and soaked almonds, so they're easier for digestion, organic milk, ghee, which is clarified butter, bone broth, which is more in the rejuvenation phase, not the cleansing phase, and honey. And just a note with honey to either have it warm or at room temperature, not heated. So again, these are some of the things that we'll go into more detail in the luminescence program, particularly what's going to support the sperm, what's going to support the uterine health too. And a few of these things I have also in my recipe book called Nourish, that really help to support ojas. The other thing is with hot water. So the main element of the shukra dhatu is water. So the five great elements: earth, fire, air, wind, and water. So water is actually the essence of our shukra dhatu. So one of the things that we need to do is to keep really well hydrated. Having hot water helps to eliminate the toxins in our body. So it's really good to start your morning with hot water. One of the things I recommend is CCF tea, coriander, cumin, and fennel tea. Really good for firing up the digestion. And with hot water, you can just sip it throughout the day. So really to keep ourselves hydrated. And this is where also I recommend to avoid caffeine, because caffeine's a diuretic. It actually dries up the body too. And the last thing is as much as possible to be aligned with nature. We are creatures of nature. And when we do this, we are just creating harmony. We are creating harmony, and this is how we can thrive as humans. So with that, sleep. Sleep is one of the fundamental pillars in Ayurveda, nidra, sleep. So we want to sync ourselves to our natural rhythms, our circadian rhythm. And one of the best ways we can do that is to get to bed before 10 p.m. because in Ayurveda, we work with a clock that are aligned with the doshas. And we know this as well, why it's very important to get to bed before 10 p.m. because this is when we go into the deepest stages of our sleep, is between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. when we're going into the theta and the beta waves are most active. So we are actively restoring and nourishing, and our metabolic process are working their best during this time. Then it's also recommended to get up at 6 a.m. So this is the vata quality time of day, when the veil between what we see and the ethereal world is at its thinnest. This is when our pineal gland is most active. So it's such a beautiful and potent time to also do and practice. So we're particularly if we're on this journey, setting the intention, the things that we're working with, like our visualization, our affirmations, our mantra, our meditation, this is the time to do it. And it will also give you sustained energy throughout your day. Just by doing this alone will help to relieve so many ailments that you have. And if you're a new parent, for example, or if you work night shifts, just as much as possible, just try and do things consistently where you can. And the other one is to really connect with nature. So think about the things like that are giving life. So we want to do connection with activities that connect with the earth element. So grounding, get your feet on the floor. If you live in the city, just open up, expose yourself to the elements, get the sunlight, particularly morning sunlight, evening sunlight. get your hands in nature. So things like gardening, smelling flowers, or even doing something like pottery. So we're really creating with the connecting with the earth element, the abundance of Mother Nature. And one very important thing as well that I will say is not to overexert yourself. So you don't need to go for, 3 hours of surfing or a 10-kilometer run outside. We're looking at this time to conserve our energy. So just keeping that in mind as well. And lastly, just as some final thoughts and reflections to kind of recap what we went through. So keeping in mind digestion, although it's the cornerstone and foundation of our health, remember that we are so much more than what we eat. So we are energetic beings, and we are operating everything in our day is just a source of energy. So wanting to really make sure that we are connecting through the things that will help us to thrive, that will help us to be in our best selves. And this is the foundation of our health. Be kind to yourself. Really be kind to yourself. There's so many there's so many challenges that we can face when we're going through this. There's so much that we can learn about ourselves and our others. But once we have that intention and we are really committed and we are doing that work, we are embodying the things that we want to invite in our life, the rest will follow. We try to create attachment to the outcome of what that can look like, but we are embodying that within ourselves. And the other thing is, don't rush. Like nature, good things take time. So yeah, this with the information I've shared with you, and any of those who are coming on the luminescence journey as well, is just to allow time for things to unfold, right? Like with nature, we move through cycles, and these things will reveal itself too. So if you're curious to find out more and come on this journey with us, I'm so excited to share with you and really get into the details of this and help you set out the foundations for your health. And as you come on the journey with us, Victoria is now going to take you through the Luminescence Fertility and Preconception program, which I believe is we're opening up in 6 days. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we're so, so close. And I see that a couple of you have questions in there as well. So I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes and then hand it back to you, Faria, so that you can answer people's questions. Thank you so much. You filled in so much in a short amount of time. I'm so impressed. I need to take notes on your masterclass skills. So, so good. So we're really, really, really excited about Luminescence. This is our second year. Had a cohort of 30 people, which comprised many couples, some who have consciously conceived and peacefully gestated and blissfully birthed their babies already. We had one mother in particular who had 6 losses before coming into luminescence, and she's just recently birthed her baby. We had people in same-sex marriage. We had people going through the assisted reproductive pathway. We had people going through just being so deeply and madly in love in their sacred union and being so ready to conceive the healthiest versions of themselves, and just knowing and valuing the support that they need and innately deserve, that we all need and innately deserve when we go through an initiatory pathway of this size. So I always say it does not matter if you are struggling with fertility health or not. The pathway is the same. These are laws of nature. And if you look outside of our culture, you see that the elders, they know this. They know that men and women are transforming on a biochemical level, not only during pregnancy, in the years leading up to conception. So this is a journey of remembering, and it's a 12-week journey. It's harnessing the power and the opportunity of trimester 0. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't have time to do another course. I can tell you right now, luminescence is not another course. It is literally like a massive support system that wraps around you and enhances the power, the meaning, and the effectiveness of everything that you are already doing. When you have children, when you're pregnant, life is going to continue to happen. And what we need is we need to be able to actually contain more and be responsible for more in resilience, in a calm state, in a steady state, and we enter that state when we are supported. So it's about a 90-minute commitment every 2 weeks on average. So we'll have a community call every 2 weeks. And at that point, you get access to the next module. So there's 6 main modules. The first one is ancient Ayurveda, which Faria is teaching. And I chose her to teach the very first one because in essence, luminescence actually embodies the teachings of Ayurveda. We recognize that we need to first, before anything, before we even go anywhere, we need to detoxify our bodies and our minds and our psyches. And in luminescence, we have world-renowned one world-renowned homeopathic practitioner who has been, for example, working with vaccine-injured children for 3 or 4 decades. She's written so many books, taught so many practitioners worldwide, and she is a master in detoxifying our bodies from not only the vaccines, but the antibiotics and the pharmaceuticals and the anesthesias that we have taken into our system since before we were born. And we just like to think, oh, what did I eat last week or 3 months ago? Our immune systems, our endocrine systems are informed by everything we've taken into our bodies from before we were born, at our birth. What did mom take in when she was birthing us? So it sounds complicated, but it's not, because when you have these practitioners who are masters in their field, they just go, here's what you need to do. And it's very easy. So yeah, the detoxifying, and then we start to connect. We connect with the consciousness of the soul who's choosing us to be their parents. And from there, we can open. So Ayurveda, really, these are the teachings of Ayurveda. So that's where you're going to start. And then from there, the second module is healing your own birth and conception imprints. That's my area of specialization, is prenatal memory and birth and pre-birth imprints. So you'll get to look and work with that. Cycle awareness and reclaiming body sovereignty. So working with your circadian and infradian rhythms, your hormones, mineralization. The next module is ancestral nourishment, so maternal nutrition on generational health and the importance of being deeply mineralized. We have an incredible module on love, eros, and intimacy. I don't know why on earth you can have, like, I've never found a fertility or a birth program that talks about love. This has got to be the most insane thing. I mean, it just makes no sense actually whatsoever. So regardless of all of that, we talk about love. The whole journey of luminescence is about coming home into the deepest dimensions of your heart, of who you truly are, because that is where birth is going to take you. Your cervix, ladies, is the portal to your heart, and it has to open to birth your baby. And that is the design. The whole thing from preconception to birth is designed to make you fall irreversibly in love with your baby, with your partner, with yourself. This is the design. And then module 6 is preconception bonding and preconception communication. We have an incredible spirit baby communicator teaching that, how to already connect with your baby, how to hear what it is that they're saying through the challenges and the experiences that you're having in your life, in the changes, in the transitions, in the way you're experiencing life and your relationship. And then we have our bonus module, which is actually all the most critical and controversial areas that are rarely talked about: male fertility, instinct revival, and protecting our children. We have a world-renowned Indigenous midwife teaching this piece that is so incredibly important for our times: conceiving after 40, vaccine alternatives and immunization, conscious considerations for conceiving with assisted reproductive technology, pathways to peaceful pregnancy and blissful birth. And also one of my incredible mentors who specializes in epigenetics and pre and perinatal psychology and functional medicine, she's going to do an amazing piece on functional medicine testing and blood panels. So often when you go to these doctors, they're like, oh yeah, and do all of this. And you end up spending a ton of money on all of this testing. But what she's going to do is she's going to give you all the information that you need to make fully informed decisions based on your health status, based on what you present with, so that if it is important for you, you will know, and you will know that you don't need to get everything. You can just get what is absolutely necessary. One of the main things that I aimed for in Luminescence is not giving more information, but having the conversations that aren't being had and that are going to equip you to really navigate consciously in sovereignty, to make the decisions that are best for you and best for your family from this point, because this preconception period imprints everything that you bring with you into pregnancy, into birth, into postpartum. The most critical time of a woman's life is postpartum, and this is where it begins to be informed. So, yes, we start on March 24th. The doors of enrollment close literally in 4 days. And for our masterclass participants, we're giving you a 333 euros savings. So I will put the code, actually, I'll put it in the chat while Faria is answering your questions. And we have an incredible community forum. We have doulas and mentors in there that will be with you at all times, walking with you throughout the course of the 12 weeks. And we also have so during the 12-week journey, you'll actually receive a live transmission from a real pioneer, elder, true, people that I consider to be true masters, who have been serving people for more than 50 years, who are just absolute powerhouses in what they've cultivated throughout their lives. So there's like this reinforcement of our elders coming in and just honoring us, revering us, supporting us to do what it is we are doing, which I believe is the most heroic work. You know, I believe this is us becoming the leaders of our nations. And I cannot imagine anything more important. And I think one of the big problems is that there's so much information and we don't know where to turn. And it's very rare that you come across teachers with lived experience. A lot of the teachers in Luminescence have 20, 30, 40, or 50 plus years of experience in these realms. So that's beyond evidence-based. That's like they have track records with tens of thousands of hours of experience, and these are arms that can hold us. And I include myself in that. So I'm so excited for this journey. While you're talking, Faria, I'm going to put in here the link where you can enroll. The coupon code, which will expire in 48 hours, so you need to use it before then. And for those of you who, and we have a few partial scholarships left, which you can apply for. And these are not for you if you just aren't sure if you want to invest in this, because you're just not sure. I really feel that every aspect of this journey, from this moment right here where you choose this, is imprinting your family journey. So if this is a question of, I'm not sure, XYZ, the scholarship is not for you. If you would be otherwise unable to take this program, but you feel wholeheartedly aligned with the values and the work, and you really want to engage and commit, then the scholarship could be for you. So in the email that I send out after this with the replay, the instructions will be in there for how to apply for that. So does anyone have any questions? We have one question, Fario. What do you recommend for those of us in really hot climate weather? How often should we drink cold beverages?
Okay, yeah. So when we consider the Agni, the digestive fire, one of the things that really dampens the fire is the quality of cold, so cold and sluggish things. So particularly like cold drinks, ice cream, smoothies. These are things that we want to avoid, even if we live in a warmer climate, because these really dampen the digestive fire and slow down our digestion. So if you are living in a very hot climate, I know it's not ideal to be sipping on like tea the whole day. I just go for room temperature water, because this still keeps the balance. But if you can in the morning, at least try to have warm water, or warm like herbal tea, like the CCF tea that I mentioned.
Okay, and I actually have a question, Faria, from one of our luminescence participants. It's a male. We have an inflow of single men signing up for luminescence this year, which is honestly showing me what like is blowing my mind. But it's so beautiful. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screen back so I can find this question. Um, yeah, there's an inflow of single men enrolling in luminescence, which is so powerful. I feel like it speaks to this cultural shift that we're all a part of. Like, men are also wanting to have families, to have a committed, devoted partnership and children. And it's so incredibly beautiful. So, one of our participants, who's male, has asked this question, but he is teaching right now. He's unable to be here live. He says, I've been struggling with a stubborn candida issue that has come and gone many times over the last decade. I have often felt like I need a real solution to the issue. My diet has changed so many times throughout the years, focusing on dealing with this issue. I am probably at my most healthy physically. It seems to become an itchy bother right around bedtime and upon waking. What can I do to actually resolve this issue? And he's going to watch the replay.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, well, that is really incredible that we have so many more men curious and really, stepping into their calling and their power. And thank you so much for the question. Candida is one of the most common imbalances that I help both in men and women, and it really comes down to our digestion. So it is a reflection of a weakened and imbalanced digestive system. So whilst it is hard for me to give very kind of like one single piece of advice, because I really look at the individual and their overall health and their lifestyle. So whilst, for example, you're saying that you're feeling physically good, we actually look at some of the activities that you're doing and seeing what could be hindering that. Because again, it is something that we're looking at getting to the root cause of what's going on, and then giving you particularly tailored advice to do with your nutrition, your lifestyle, if they're herbal supplements that can help that. One thing I will say is you apply these principles of Ayurveda. So sticking to regular meal times, trying having fresh food as much as possible. So with Candida, it really flourishes when you have cold food, reheated food, frozen food, foods that are very low in prana. So try to stick with seasonal, fresh, organic produce where possible. And also the one about keeping hydrated, particularly with hot water to help flush out the toxins. And a big one with Candida is actually working with the mindset too. So making sure that you're having those activities in your day. It sounds like you're in good physical health, but also to actively be reducing the stress, right? So we want to get into more what we call our yin state, our parasympathetic state. So I work with men too, but a lot of the time I know they're usually overexerting themselves. So we need to come into the more softer, the feminine side. So we're activating a parasympathetic state. This is where the body has more capacity to rest and restore and take care of ourselves. So just a simple one with that could be doing diaphragmatic breathing every day to really to slow and to calm down your nervous system. And another one could be something like incorporating a yin or restorative yoga practice a few times a week.
Amazing. Great. And does anyone else? I'm so amazed by our timing, Faria. We still have a few minutes. So, for those of you who are here, you're truly in the presence of someone who's helped so many women and people from all walks of life heal from so many different issues and imbalances. Or even if you want to just bring a question forward of something you want to work on more in your health or in your life, like Bada is here, lean into her. Any final questions? Fadia, as you can imagine, I've had so many conversations and heard so many stories over the years of birth, of pregnancy. I've helped so many women heal from fertility issues. And, you know, the wildest stories, like people spending tens of thousands on fertility treatments. And again, I'm not saying they're never needed. I'm saying usually there's something really obvious that if we talk to someone like you, Faria, you'll like identify it right away. Or Poppy, the medical herbalist that we have teaching in luminescence, she's like, her stories are wild. Like, you know, oh, the nightlight that was on beside the bed was literally affecting someone to the point where they were infertile, because we are circadian beings. We rely on our circadian rhythm, and we're light beings. Like literally at the moment of conception, there is a flash of light. Um, so yeah, I just really want to just say thank you so much, Faria, for reminding us like how much of this is in our control. I feel like we've been painted this picture that, especially as women, we are complicated and we're so complex. And it's like, actually, it's very simple. Um, and anytime the preconception conversation comes up, people say, oh, yeah, turn to Ayurveda. Like, this is the roadmap. So another question. I've had two pregnancies. My youngest is 5, and I feel like I'm depleted in every way and still struggling with hormonal imbalances. What do you suggest for me to begin to start healing the roots? I would love to have another baby in the future, but first I need to recover.
Mm. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Judith. And as Victoria touched upon, this time, particularly the postpartum time, is the most important time that we need to look after women who have given birth. And so often we don't have the resources and the tools, and especially the community to support that. So that means sometimes the imbalances can still last for years to come. And one thing that I can suggest, well, to really start healing from the roots is working with your digestion, because what happens when, particularly during the postpartum time, there is such a huge exchange of energy that happens, and we come into what is called known as a vata imbalance. So that's an imbalance of the air and the ether element, which can then sometimes kind of linger if it is not addressed. So really to do the things that are really going to be very grounding and very nourishing. So from the foods that you're eating to the activities that you're doing. And this is something that, again, we'll work on in the Luminescence program, something that I'll share as into the process in more detail, like what are the things that we want to work on when we're actually cleansing the mind and body. So for you already being a mama as well, like there are so many things that you will naturally be able to heal and to rectify once you go through the cleansing process, and particularly the rejuvenation process as well, to build up the strength of your digestive fire. Whether you're looking as well, because you said you would like to have another baby in future, but let's just work with getting you to feel like yourself again, and increasing your strength and your ojas and your vital health and immunity. So that's something I would recommend. And if you also feel a calling for a more individual approach, please reach out to me too. And was there another question here? I see.
Yes. And just want to also add to that, Judith, check out Hamid Jabbar. He's an incredible educator, healer, practitioner, and he's teaching on ancestral nourishment in luminescence. His work is so incredible. I'm not sure if you were in his masterclass just a few days ago. If not, send an email and I'll send you the replay or comment somewhere on the social realm somewhere, find me, and I will send it to you. His work is incredible. We sometime last year we had mamas in the program who already had children but just wanted to really I thought you were there. Amazing. Yeah, so luminescence can also be an incredible pathway for you when you it's when you heal also your own birth and pre-birth imprint. So for you this will also be healing the births of the children that you had, um, as well, like not so much healing but integrating that even more in ways that prepares your body as it is now to do this a third time. So beautiful. And Ashley is wondering if there's any key points to help address hypothyroid issues through Ayurvedic lens.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ashley. Again, this is something I work with quite a few clients, particularly those who are looking to conceive, is how we can help balance any issues, particularly to do with the thyroid, because this is something that we want to make sure that we are able to heal as much as possible and find that balance before we actually get to the part of conceiving and going through pregnancy. So with Ayurveda, a lot of the time I have to say it depends, and it depends on the individual. And this is one where I would say that I would need to have an understanding of that individual and their current condition. So I worked with quite a few clients with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's as well. But essentially, like the protocol is always the same for any imbalance. We always look firstly at healing and nurturing the digestion first. With hypothyroidism, there are some things that we need to take into account, particularly with diet and activities, and it depends if you're on medication as well. So that's all something that I work with too. But the first thing I can say is look at the principles of Ayurvedic. We're looking at the principles of Ayurvedic nutrition. Like I said, I covered just previously, like just simply having these cook meals, regular meals, cooking at home, eating with awareness, and yeah, with a condition like that, I do work individually as well. So that's something that I'm very, very also passionate about supporting people through.
Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you, Faria. This was so nourishing. Thank you so much. One more question.
Oh, yes. I was waiting for this question because it's one that I get asked often, particularly to do with people in the preconception journey, like, should they start taking their prenatal vitamins, folate, and all of these and so on. So I'm going to answer probably with the same answer that I had as well. Once we work on healing our digestion, we are able to properly absorb the nutrients that we are getting from our food. So the main issue is that most of us, most of the time, aren't able to digest our food properly. So that means we're not getting the maximum nutrient absorption from them. So low vitamin D, high bad cholesterol, any herbs that help. With that, so with vitamin D, I would again so that we work on strengthening the Agni, the digestive fire, but of course sunlight is a really good one for that. And high bad cholesterol, we would look into your specific constitution and your type of dosha to see what are the foods that we want to be kind of avoiding and the foods that we want to be including. But you want to stay away from very kind of like high saturated fat foods and be working more with like healthy fat foods. So things like ghee, like avocado, and I always say again, it depends. It depends on your body type. If you're going to be a person to be more suited to eating meat or not. But that is something that I do advocate a lot with, particularly with women in the rejuvenation phase as well. So yes, we work on healing the digestion first, so we can absorb the nutrients from the food that we're getting. Because when we're eating a diet that is really balanced and fresh and high in prana, we're getting all the nutrients that we need from our food. We don't need to heavily rely on herbal supplements.
So good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who was here live, and to all of you who watch this replay. Thank you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for giving your ears and your body and your mind to this very important conversation. Thank you, Faria, for starting your day with us. And we will send Faria's link as well for one-on-one consultations in the email that I send out. So those of you who want to work with her personally, one-on-one, you can do that. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day or night or sleep wherever you are.